All right. I'm looking for the script. There it is. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Carvel Community Meeting. Today's date is 28th August 2024. If you're watching this as a recording, we encourage you to come and join us live. We meet every second and fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. It's an opportunity to listen in to what the maintainers are working on, provide live feedback, ask questions, or get live help with any of the tools. For those that are here today, if you have anything you wish to discuss with the community, please add that to the discussion topic section at the end of the agenda below. If you aren't able to attend live and would like to reach out to us with questions or feedback, you can also find us in Kubernetes Slack workspace at Carvel channel. You can email us, find us on GitHub and on X at Carvel_dev. When you attend these meetings, we ask that you please read and abide by our code of conduct, which is linked out here in the agenda. For those in attendance, please add your name and any organization you represent to the attendees list. And that's it. Next, on to what we have on the agenda. All right, no announcements. Anything happening this year, this week, last week? Anything interesting in terms of releases?
Just an update from last week. Joe, you had asked me to make the changes to the flag we added to CAP, right? So I'll be doing that this week. Haven't done it yet, but yep, on my radar. So just letting you know.
Okay, we also updated the maintainers list to I think show the correct status right now. Something that maybe Somik you want to talk about?
Yes, so we essentially moved some folks who are no longer active anymore to emeritus maintainers list and added some folks who had joined recently. This includes Thomas, Bryce, Rashmi, German as well, who took up reviewership for vendor, and some of the folks who have joined our team. So yep, so we made sure that they're accounted for in the maintainers empty list because that's our source of truth.
All right. There's nothing in content. Anything upcoming, any events or talks that anybody is going to be talking about? I believe KubeCon India has opened up and we can submit CFPs if required for KubeCon India. So please see if you have something that you would want to submit there.
The CFPs are closed, but as a sandbox project, we can opt in for a lightning talk and a kiosk in person for a day. So that form is open till October 20th, I believe, 20th or 22nd. So we can put in those requests till then.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see, let's plan that offline. Anything on the project roadmap? Any updates on those?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, then on to the discussion topics. Um, who has added this?
I have added it. So essentially, over past couple of months, I've seen that people who directly work with the FCRs, uh, they do not change the sync period, and even with 15 FCRs, they see very high consumption of CPU and memory. So, and the rationale for using 10 minutes as a app default sync period instead of 30-second is we already have package installs for which the sync period by default is 10 minutes. I think the even for the app CR as well, we can make it 10 minutes, and they can choose to bring it down if needed. So this one of the thing I wanted to talk about.
I think 10 minutes might be too aggressive here. From most of the use cases that I've seen folks using apps here is for GitOps use cases. And ideally, they would want their changes on Git to be synced quickly and not wait for 10 minutes. Scott, do you have any thoughts on this? Like, have you been using apps here directly, and what do you think about increasing the sync period?
Yeah, we usually set it at, I always set it declaratively, but we set it between 1 to 2 minutes when we do direct app CRs, because it's only for GitOps purposes that we use them.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
yeah, we have some cases where we set stuff as 24 hours as well, stuff that just doesn't matter as much, and things like that. But 10 minutes we never set except for package installs.
Okay. So how many FCRs like run in a single Kubernetes cluster for GitOps purpose?
So it depends. We have some environments where we'll do one app CR that will just pull down a lot of stuff. So we have one huge one in a mono repo. But we also have cases with over 100. But what we basically do is we just change the concurrency reconciliation flag, and we bump up the resources of kapp-controller.
Okay.
So we've gotten it up to, I think, probably like 200 apps in a cluster, like standalone apps as well.
Okay. Fine. I think if it is like 1 to 2 minutes, I definitely think still we should increase it from 30-second. Maybe let's do it to 1 minute and see how things work out.
What is the problem that we're trying to solve here?
So a couple of folks have reached out where they were not sure why the kapp-controller is consuming a good amount of resources. And when we went and looked into it, it is that they were having 15 app CRs, and it was a monorepo, and that was consuming like they were getting synced at every 30-second, and that is why it was consuming large amount of resources. So it's very difficult to break a monorepo for them, and this has happened twice in 2 months. for different customer. So just
why
So
why
there is
don't they use like a bigger timeout on these app CRs for the monoread? Because it looks like a very specific use case, right? And we have the ability to do that by setting the flag. So why don't they just set it up
no, they
on the
They-
app CR? Why don't they just bump it on the app CR?
yeah. So those app CRs are created by some supply chain mechanism. So and they have not probably configured it there. I mean, they can do it obviously this thing, or they can, if they are using kapp-controller config over there also, they can change at one place. It is just that people get caught unaware of why something is happening. And I just thought maybe a good uh, maybe a good default is more than 30-second.
So all I can say also for their use case, the other thing that we have done in the past that I think is possibly even a better solution is we just pulled things from FluxCD source controller, pull it down to the cluster once if it's a mono repo, and then have the appcr point at the source within the cluster instead of looking at Git. And that way they only pull once. You'll lower resource consumption drastically that way of kapp-controller. Even if it was every 30 seconds. Much easier because you only pull once.
We did had recently some caching for Git and HG.
Yeah, I did take a look at that. But that was not resolving the purpose. I mean, in the sense the caching, we just give a branch, right? So I think I did take a look at that. One thing is it was not exposed. And another thing is I forgot the reason now, but it didn't look like it will help.
So caching is enabled by default. There's no like you can disable it, but it's enabled by default. The only thing that might be capping it is the size of the repo. And also they might not have like the latest version of kapp-controller. Because I think we merged this change like 2 months ago or something like that.
Yes. So essentially, when I went and looked into it, obviously the majority of the consumption was happening in the fetch stage. Yeah, and it was a large repo. So there is a possibility that the size capping it will violate.
I think the cap is what, like 5 megabytes, I think.
Yeah, it's 5 MB again.
Which can also be changed for their use case, right?
Let me take a look at caching because I did remember it couldn't have helped them.
I do have some concerns in changing this behavior because this is like what people are expecting for the app CR to be reconciled, and doing this change is going to change like everybody just to fit this one use case. When clearly this use case, maybe they shouldn't be using default values, especially because they have like such a big repo that they want to download, right? The other part of this is if they really want like 30 seconds, if they want like this, like a quicker turnaround for like some sort of like GitOps work that they want, then caching should be the solution here. So it kind of feels like that bumping this sync period, default sync period, might not be like the optimal solution for the use case. It might be like the quickest solution for their use case, but I don't think it's like the optimal solution for like kapp-controller and the use cases in general.
Okay.
Yeah, what I would say is it may be worthwhile to, after whenever the correct solution is found, would be to add a document on mono repos in kapp-controller of like best practice recommendations for mono repos, or what strategies someone could approach here, right? Making it easier, because the defaults make sense in a case like this. The defaults don't need to be handled really uniquely. They don't need to be changed. I would agree with that here. But to have the documentation of, in these cases, this is what we would recommend, or these are your options to help solve this issue, that could be beneficial, because that would give us a source to point anyone to down the road if they hit a similar issue.
Sure. I think, I guess in that case, like the two options will come out. One is they change in every app CR. They set explicitly the sync period, or the other is this change this value in the kapp-controller config. I'm not sure by changing the value in kapp-controller config, will it also trickle down to the existing app CR? So that is something I'll take a look.
Sorry, what do you mean? I do not understand. What values are you talking about changing in kapp-controller?
No. So there is a kapp-controller config, which is we create, right? I mean, like it's an optional. So controller configuration over there also, this is configurable. So I'll just share it in the chat.
Oh, okay, got it. So you're saying like doing the configuration like at kapp-controller level instead of like
Yes.
but then I think then we go back to the same problem, right? Like if you have, let's imagine that you have a cluster that have like 20 apps on it. There's one app that is slow because it's pulling from a mono repo. Are all the other apps going to take a hit because of that one app? It kind of feels like that we're like changing like this default value, right? Like we're changing like globally the default just to cater to this one use case, right? Like, so in the end, it feels like this one use case should be aware of itself and change the values that they provide. Oops, sorry.
Yeah. So like these are the solutions we can put in our doc. Like either they can explicitly change if it is they're looking to change only for one or two app CRs. But in case they want to look for change at every app CR, then by changing at this one place only, they don't have to change all the app CRs.
I think the problem is like apps here is mostly meant for advanced users, or at least intermediate users who at least know what sync period is. But these were scenarios where they were not aware of things like sync period and whether kapp-controller is going to pull all those or the complete repo again and again. And that's how they ended up with that situation. So mainly I saw two problems. One was that the size of the repo was quite huge and there were a lot of pulls because there were failures, so there were backoffs. So a lot of pull that happened over there. Because of that, they got some notification from GitHub. That was one scenario, and another was usage, CPU and memory usage. So I think caching was definitely solve the first one. And it should also solve the CPU usage, because if there is caching, then there won't be any pull. So CPU usage should not go up. So at this point of time, I think we should just wait for the caching changes to go in for them.
What we could think like in terms of the future is if these scenarios start being like common, maybe we should have like an abstraction for them instead of having folks dabble directly in FCRs. Maybe should think about eventually having an abstraction that is some sort of a GitOps workflow where we can set like more interesting settings or something like that on top of this. And that way, people should use that if they're using like GitOps, right? Because this was like a GitOps issue, right? That they had, or was it just like they were just creating the AppCR for their apps?
No, so both the issues I have seen, they were fetching it from the Git.
Yeah, what I'm asking is like, is this like some sort of like GitOps workflow that they were trying to implement, or was this more it was just like they created an AppCR because they didn't want to create a package or something like that?
It was, I think, workloads related, so GitOps.
So in some sense, we could see if like it would make sense for us to have like an abstraction for that. And go from there, or even make like kapp-controller a little bit smarter, like in some situations where like if there's, even if you don't like provide a lot of information, like if we see that you have like a very big repo, we try to cache it by default or something like that. But that's like something that we can think about more in the future. Like,
Yeah, I guess so. We'll see if there are more occurrences of this start coming.
Yeah. Because like, for example, like if we have like another, if we have a new type, a new abstraction that's not like AppCR, we can make that logic part of the AppCR of that abstraction layer, right? Where you can say like, okay, if you're trying to do a GitOps workflow, we always store, like we ignore the limits of the that we currently have for caching, and we always cache our stuff if we have to, or if we can. Right? And because we know that you'll always be pulling from it, and like if there's any change, then that change would just go, just work. So that's an option also to maybe think in the future.
Sure.
Do we want to log an issue for this?
Yeah, I think we can create an issue and look if we get more. If we start getting activity on it, we'll get to know that people are interested in it. I'll do it.
Right.
For the issue, I'd make it a little bit more lightweight. I'd not go with implementation of it. When I say that, just maybe not create an issue that says I want to increase the app default sync period. Just say like, how can we better handle GitOps scenarios that use AppCRs or something like that, and then explain more or less the thing, and then we can line out like what are like, so eventually like some of the possibilities of like implementation for this. and just capture that like this, like that way.
Yeah.
Right. We still have some time on hand. Is it okay if we go through some issues that we have that have not been tried for some time? All right, I'll take this as a yes and go ahead with it.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Yeah, I'm already looking at the cap issues.
In this Friday, we were not able to triage it. We'll do it offline. Praveen, is that what you're saying, or you want to do it now?
I'm okay either way, but I'm already looking at these, so we are good there.
Okay. Then I'll leave that one to you. Nothing new in YTT. This
This
PR.
one we still need Dimitri on. Like, I don't see anything wrong with it fundamentally, but I'm not sure about the history of it.
All right. We'll ping Dimitri when he's back from his vacation. I love Cable. It's so stable. It doesn't need it has no new issues.
There could be other reason as well. I hope it's not that.
Up. No, it's stable. 26 June. I think this required some discussion. Rohit, anything that you want to follow up on this one?
Yeah, I was not able to. I'll follow up and reply.
Okay, thank
Like,
you.
I feel like that one is just like a question of like hashing out the verbiage to be used. I think that I think that Christophe might be okay with the solution that we proposed. The only thing is just like the naming of it.
Yep. Sure. I think he is only looking at some specific sources, but maybe I'll just get in touch with him and tell him like we can do it for wider resources, like in specific, rather than only two sources.
Let's be fair, like this might only make sense on these two cases as well. So check with him.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any update on that second issue on kapp-controller? The issue about bundles being copied to multiple places, like to multiple registries.
I
The
don't
second
think so.
one, updating package repository to new location. That one.
You mean the caching one?
Yeah, that's the one. think last we talked we discussed this, I think last week. I think the only thought that was there was that instead of implementing some sort of invalidation, what we want to do is probably start including the host name into the cache as well as to use as a key.
Okay,
We could
so
probably
that's the case. Did we open an issue on Vendor to do that?
nope. I can take that up actually. Of
Cool.
context, I can do that.
Good. Is this like something that's pressing right now, or not really?
I would say not extremely pressing, but it's better done sooner than later. Because there's a workaround, of course, but yeah.
Cool.
All right, anything else? If nothing else, thank you all for your time. And